suspense.
Please be seated. Information is the oil of 21st century, and analytics is the combustion engine. The galaxy of intellectuals, scholars, professors, ladies and gentlemen, a warm morning to you all. I cordially welcome you all for the two-day international conference on business analytics for sustainable digital transformation organized by the Postgraduate Department of Commerce, Loyola College Autonomous, Chennai. It is an auspicious occasion for the Department of Commerce to conduct such an international conference. Conference is a catalyst for change. Studies shows that we develop convictions not only from personal Bible study, but also in the environment away from our normal day-to-day lives. Department of Commerce is a pioneer in conducting conference on topics that are relevant and enduring. Every new day is a blessing for all of us to progress in life. Beginning a new day with imploring God's blessing and honoring our Tamil goddess is the best way to start. May I call upon the department choir to lead us, and I request you all to kindly raise for the Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by the prayer song.
சீராரும் பதனமென திகழ் பரத கண்டமிது எக்கணமும் மதிசிறந்த திராவிடன திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனலும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
In life alone, there'll always be someone there. I know you won't let me down. He's with me everywhere. The special things in life are done. I've been through him and his love. I've been blessed in so many
Let your light shine is the motto of our college. Light symbolizes brightness and prosperity. The rising sun of every day ends the darkness of night and makes the day bright. May I now humbly request the dignitaries, Reverend Father Francis P. Xavier, Rector, Reverend Father D. Selvanayakam, Secretary, Reverend Father A. Thomas, Principal, our Chief Guest, Dr. Paranivel Tyagarajan, Minister of Finance and Human Resource Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. A. Marcus, Head of the Commerce Department, Dr. J. Purandai Raj, Convener of the conference, and one of the participants, Ms. Chandana, from Geetham deemed to be University, Vishakhapattinam, Andhra Pradesh, to come forward to light the Kutuvalakku. Welcoming is one of the customary practices of our Tamil culture. On behalf of the organizing team of the international conference, may I now invite Head of the Department of Commerce, Dr. A. Marcus, to deliver the welcome address.
A very good morning. With a great joy, on behalf of the PG and Research Department of Commerce, I'm standing before you to welcome the August gathering for the inaugural program of the two-day international conference. Every conference is an academic celebration of an institution, and we keep this legacy by hosting this conference on this vibrant theme. As head of the Department of Commerce, I take pride in welcoming each and every one of you. The Department of Commerce is rendering its laudable service in the academic front since 1945, and a good number of academicians, sports persons, assembly members of the state and center, celebrities, and more than that, the members from the deserving segment have passed this portal of our department. In the first place, I welcome the chief guest, Honorable Dr. Palanivel Tyagarajan, our Minister for Finance and Human Resources Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, to the inaugural program of the 2 days conference. I welcome you, sir. Dear sir, we follow your knowledge, studied with experience, expertise, charisma, and also your instantaneous response of high caliber over the period, and we're delighted to have your precious presence in the midst of us. We're rather having a small discussion in the Father's Principal's office. Despite his rich experience in academic as well as in his political field, still says we are in the still learning curve. That's the greatness of you, sir. We welcome you, dear sir. I take pride in welcoming our rector, Reverend Dr. Francis Xavier, SJ, for this conference. Reverend Father is our guiding force, and his presence makes this inauguration very special. We welcome you, Reverend Father. I take pride in welcoming our Secretary and Correspondent, Reverend Dr. D. Selvanayagam JSJ, who belongs to a commerce family, the person with dedication, work beyond the time, and achieves perfection in all his endeavor. We welcome you, Reverend Father. I take pride in welcoming our beloved Reverend Father A. Thomas S.J., Principal, who sees opportunities in every challenge, convert pressure into performance, and finds way in the unknown path. We welcome you, Reverend Father. I take the honor of welcoming our respected Deputy Principal for this program. I welcome the Vice Principals, Deans, officials, department heads of our institution. I find almost all the department heads are here, officials are here, and our research professors here. So nice to find you. Thank you for honoring with your presence. I welcome the esteemed faculty members of our department, members from other departments, illustrious alumni, delegates, representatives from the press and media, teaching fraternity and researchers from other institutions, and our students of UG and PG courses and the well-wishers. The program is well conceived by the organizers under the leadership of our convener, Dr. Jesu Korendaraj, and the organizing secretaries, Dr. Justin Rayappa, Dr. Salathian, and Dr. Maria Joseph, all are professors of our department, student organizers, and admin staff who support in this endeavor. I welcome all of them. I find the guidance of the invisible hand is with us from the day the department conceived the idea of the conference till this minute. His omniscient presence will make all our efforts with great success. With this, I complete the welcome address and I submit the floor for further proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the pleasant welcome address. I request our MCOM student, Josephine Divya, to honor our chief guest with a bouquet. I request Dr. Jesu Korendaraj, the convener of the conference, to adorn our chief guest with a shawl. May I request Reverend Father Rector to honor the chief guest with a memento and a book authored by him. And I now request Reverend Father Principal to honor our MLA in Erilan with a shawl. It is a rare privilege to have Reverend Father Rector amidst us. I take immense pleasure in inviting Reverend Father to felicitate the august audience.
Honorable Dr. Palanivel Tyagarajan, Minister for Finance and Human Resources Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Reverend Fathers, Secretary and Principal, Head of the Department of Commerce, officials, organizing team, invited speakers, faculty members, resource persons, and all present here, very good morning to you all. The recent trend in the financial world is, one could say, faceless assessment. Not only income tax auditing is done online, but mandatory compliance is also given via online. And the evaluation and directions are done faceless. You do not know where your submitted documents go and where from you are getting directions. This is one aspect of digital transformation. For some, it is a fairy tale, but for many, it is the change to stay. It is just like the teacher asking in the class, how many alphabets are there in English? Out came the reply, 23 without GST. As we know and experience, digital world is constantly changing. Before you become familiar with one concept or modality of operation, something else comes in new and more complex. We cannot sit and admire that this is the arena of the experts. We need to know what is happening around us in order to be informed citizens as well as responsible co-citizens. Assuming that this situation is applicable to business world, we still need to be better informed because it is the academicians who often prepare or train the students to get into the world of business. Academic milieu gives us the know-how, while the real business world spins around money, economy, growth, affluence, etc. But there one needs ethical values. The responsibility of academics who are training the future business magnates or enterprising economic adventurers should be forming each one within the matrix or framework of business ethics. So we could put it as excellence with ethics. Excellence in academic knowledge should dawn as ethical wisdom in real business world. The expected outcome should be that the business or corporate world should put people before profit. It's not mere CSR, a 2% offer to the society, but the entire operation should be for the good of all in the nation or in the society at large. Business world should always remember, especially when striving for success, that there are millions of people who strive to survive, and they have the social responsibility to these people who are at the bottom of the social pyramid. Business analytics, as we know, is a set of disciplines and technologies for solving business problems using data analysis, statistical models, and other quantitative methods. Loyola is the ideal place for this seminar, as there is data science and statistics as well as computer science as academic departments. All we need is interdisciplinary outlook and working model leading us into the big data realm. What is in addition needed is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes, culture, and customer experiences, as well as expectations to meet changing business and market trends and requirements. In this context, the Commerce Department at Loyola College is organizing a timely, relevant conference. I'm sure that the deliberations should be presented to the future generations in the form of learned articles published in national or international journals. I'm happy that we have with us an expert in international finance and human resource in the person of Honorable Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan. His valuable inputs would be the guiding principles for the teaching community to make the bridge to the real world of business. While I welcome all of you to this beautiful campus and wish you a pleasant stay and meaningful interactions and deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for your generous words of greetings. May I request our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Palanivel Rajan, to release the proceeding of the International Conference on Business Analytics for digital transformation. Thank you, sir. Loyola Commerce Association 2021-22 has come up with a newsletter named Pulse, containing the exclusive topics in the world of commerce. The content of this Pulse edition revolves around calibrating new normal post-pandemic. May I request our renowned chief guest to release the newsletter. Thank you, sir. May I invite our esteemed Professor, Dr. Justin Rayappa, the organizing secretary of this conference and president of Loyola College Teaching Staff Association, to introduce the chief guest for the day.
Distinguished chief guest of this inaugural function, Honorable Minister for Finance and Human Resource Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan, respected Reverend Father Rector, Reverend Father Secretary, Reverend Father Principal, officials, participants, and my dear students, good morning to you all. Vanakkam. I deem it a great honor and privilege to introduce a person who hails from a family which has a long and strong legacy. It is certainly impossible for me and anyone to introduce such a personality within few minutes, but I can do my level best. Sir is a fourth generation Dravidian in public service and third generation personality to be in ministerial role. His grandfather Tamilvel Sir P.T. Rajan, born on 22nd April 1982, tomorrow is his 130th birthday in Uttamapalayam, Theni district. He was educated in Lay School, Cambridge, and graduated in history from Jesus College, Oxford University. He was the Minister for Public Works, Cooperation and Hindu Religious Endowments and became the Chief Minister of Madras Presidency in 1936. His contribution to Sabarimala Temple, Madurai Meenakshi Temple, Vadavalni Temple, Tenkasi Temple and other temples were noteworthy, and the family gets and continue to get the blessings of God. Already he is blessed with the two sons, first son Palani and second son Vel. His father P.T.R. Palanivel Rajan, born on 27 February 1932, did his schooling from Trinity College, Kandy, Sri Lanka. He graduated in political science from Madras Christian College and then studied law at Madras Law College. Rajan was first elected to the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly from Theni in 1967 and was re-elected in 1971. He was elected in 1996 from Madurai West constituency and was a Speaker of the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly from 1996 to 2001. He was elected again in 2006 from Madurai Central and was the Minister for Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments in the Government of Tamil Nadu till his death on 20th May 2006. And Madurai Kamaraj University conferred him Doctor of Law. And Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan, our chief guest, born on 7th March 1966 in Madurai, did his schooling LKG, UKG in Rotary Lahari School, Madurai, studied in the Lawrence School, Lovedale, Ooty, and did his plus 2 in Vikasa School, Madurai. He then did his BTech Honours in Chemical Engineering, REC, now it is NIT, Trichy. Obtained his master's degree in operations research and PhD in applied cognitive psychology from State University of New York, where 40,000 students are studying. And he did his MBA in financial management from MIT, Sloan School of Management, whose mission is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and to generate ideas that advance management practice. In 2001, he joined in Lehman Brothers as senior manager and later on became the head of offshore capital market, dealing complex products like structured credit, derivatives, and CDOs. Later, he worked in Standard Chartered Bank as managing director, financial market sales, delivery with transaction banking and foreign exchange, e-commerce. He visited 60 more countries and lived in 20 more countries. He came back to India after 20 years of his rich experience. He became the founding secretary of IT wing of DMK, held the position for 5 years. He was a member of the executive committee of Commonwealth Parliamentary Association for 3 years. He was a member of the Public Accounts Committee for 5 years and MLA from Madurai Central Constituency during 2016 and 2021, and again from 2021 onwards. There are many things to share about him, and one thing I want to share about his commitment when he was in Lehman Brothers and when it had gone for Chapter 7 liquidation. He told all the 400 employees under him that do not leave the organization individually. Instead, you go as a group to get a higher compensation. He also promised them that I will make sure you all get a job and then I will leave. Such is his commitment. He also said, I will switch off the lights and then go. I will be the last person to leave this group, so don't worry. Sir, we are sure that you will be more committed to Madurai and Tamil Nadu because he says, பெற்றோருக்கு இணையாக நான் நேசிப்பது மதுரையை. And he was such a legendary, we have such a legendary personality. Sir, we are greatly honored by your esteemed presence. So may I request you to address this inaugural function, Thank you so much.
Professor Marcus, the head of the department, who gave a wonderful welcome address. The rector, my fellow Boston alum, Reverend Dr. Francis Xavier, the secretary, Reverend Dr. Selvanayaga Meshe, the principal, Reverend Dr. A. Thomas S.J., the convener of the conference, the organizing secretary, I should say, who gave a very gracious and full introduction to me, Dr. Justin Rayappa. The other members of the organizing committee, the delegates attending this conference, the young minds who have gathered here, the young lady who is kind of emceeing this event and gave a wonderful introduction speech. All of you, good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful occasion, which I'm very happy to attend. One of the things that I hope defines our government, my chief minister, myself, every one of our actions, we relate to our values. We relate to the philosophy of the Dravidian movement and the motivation for us to be in public life. You know, at least some of us had decent circumstances and opportunities outside of politics. It was not a, kind of way to make progress personally. But we come for a greater cause. We come because we believe that society should be benefited by a certain set of values. We try to create legislation, schemes, programs, fund them in a way that we think will advance society and improve the quality of life of our citizens. So from that perspective, I'm very happy to be here today for 2 or 3 reasons. One, because education has always been the accelerator of progress in society. That has been true throughout history. Certainly throughout the 100+ years of the Dravidian movement, we have emphasized education as the basis for both progress and equalization. So the first legislation on education was in the Justice Party government under Dayaki in 1921, where compulsory elementary education for boys and girls, that was where the equality started. So as somebody who has believed very much both in personal life, in my family, in the movement, in education, I'm very happy always to attend such conferences and speak to students. In particular, institutions like Loyola College, we have to pay a greater debt of gratitude. As in Madurai, I have pointed out many times, the early Christian missionaries who came and settled and set up educational institutions, medical institutions, hospitals in places like Chennai and Madurai have greatly contributed to the advancement of our society, and we must remain grateful for that. Places like Loyola College have produced stellar alumni, exemplary leaders around the world. And that adds its own value because it shows to the rest of the community that such progress is possible, that there is a pathbreaker ahead of you and has created a path that you can follow. Above all else, I think an event like today, where relatively devout practicing Hindu like me is invited as a chief guest to this institution run by a Christian organization, where outside we have the traditional Sandanam and Kungumam to greet us in, and the wonderful job being done by the compere here, who is of the Muslim faith. This, I think, is what distinguishes Tamil Nadu and gives us hope that we are a different society. And so I think for all these reasons, I'm very, very happy to be here today. At one time, I used to be quite a technical person. That was a while ago. So I'm not sure I'm the right guy to talk that much detail, but maybe just touch upon a few things related to the theme of the conference. As a couple of people pointed out, and in fact, the Economist magazine once had on its cover, data is the new oil. The value of information was always high. No problem. I'm happy to note my colleague, the local MLA, Dr. Ellen is here. I greet him as well. But data went, at least in my lifetime, in 2 or 3 waves. Back in the early 80s, when I was first a graduate student, we really didn't even have good data capture possibilities. Many of the measuring systems were in analog for temperature, for pressure, for movement, for counters. And we didn't even have the digitizing capabilities to move that data from analog to digital. And those were the innovations of that time. Once we started having sensors that would automatically capture data digitally, and once the world became kind of internet and transaction based, then it was the scale and scope of databases that limited our possibilities. Once we had almost infinite capacity of databases and memory, now the real limitation is analytics, because now you can capture and store almost infinite amounts of information, and many companies do. So in these days of big data and deep tech meaning you're capturing data at levels you had never thought of before, in places you had never thought of before, in granularity that you had never thought of before. And the notion of big data turning on its head the original constructs of statistics. When I was a PhD student, the basic construct of statistics was unless you had a theoretical basis to form a hypothesis, and then you did the data analytics to show that that hypothesis was true or false, you really couldn't prove anything just by showing correlation. Correlation was not enough. You had to show causality. You had to show there was some theoretical reason to expect this outcome, and if you got it, then you had proven something, and if you didn't get it, you had proven something else. But now with big data, we don't even have to have a hypothesis. We just throw all the numbers into the machine and see what it throws out, and then see whether we don't really care about causality. Can we make money out of it? Can we improve performance and so forth? In some ways, that's used for evil, like in the big social media engines and so forth, but it can also be used for good. So we're at a frontier that I hadn't contemplated, certainly in my 25, 30 years as a professional. But I just want to talk about a few examples that I have seen in my life, the evolution, and how even today we use data and analytics in politics and government. As someone mentioned, my last job at Lehman Brothers was head of offshore capital markets. And at Lehman Brothers, what we had created was, at least till then, unique in the world. It may be even today. In Mumbai, but not STPI, not back office, front office, financial services, structuring, pricing, securitization, syndicate, research, all of this, which in other countries would be regulated. So if it was done here, had to be regulated also by the NYSE, by the then regulator in the USA, in the UK, FSA, Financial Services Authority, by the MAS, by the HKMA, and largely IIT and IIM graduates. 2 years in a row, the operation I ran was the single biggest recruiter of IIT and IIM graduates in India, actually in the world, because nobody else could export that many people with visas out. And we created this processing engine that greatly leveraged our capital markets franchise, particularly in the more complex products like structured credit, synthetic risk, exotic volatility, which was just impossible to do without that level of human talent in that quantity, and therefore it was not available in places like New York or Hong Kong. So we built what at the time was the pioneering center for such analytics in the world, tax-paying, front office, not STPI, regulated, sitting in Mumbai and servicing the world. That was cutting edge. Now almost everybody does something similar, except they do it in other places, not in India. In politics, ever since I came and started thinking about how we capture what we do, though the DMK was better than most people in capturing data, the level of analytics was not that great. Over my years in the IT wing, we improved it a lot. I don't want to go into detail because it may not be relevant and there's no upside to me to reveal all the secrets we have. But I will say only one thing. Whatever I think I know about how voters behave and what happens, every election I find out I actually don't know that much at all. The more data we collect, the more we analyze, the more we find that there are subtleties and patterns and movements that we can't even contemplate. I'll just give you one example. I ran for election in 2016 in the same Madurai Central constituency. Roughly 150,000 people came out to vote. I ran for election, or my colleague, my coalition partner, MP, ran for election in 2019. Roughly 150,000 people came out to vote. I ran for election as MLA in 21. Roughly 150,000 people came out to vote. Of course, the results varied a lot. I won by 6,000 votes the first time. The MP won by some 25,000 votes. And then the second time I won by 34,000 votes. But the assumption when we see the same 150,000 is we think the same people are coming out to vote because it's about 60% of the voters. But once I started tracking at the individual voter level, I was astonished to find that even between 2019 and 2021, roughly 30,000 people had come in 21 who had not come in 19. Just think about what that says. It's a completely different election. That's the whole margin of victory right there. So the people who came in 2019, only about 1,20,000 of them came back in 21. There were people who had come in 19 who didn't come in 21. Of course, a few had passed away or moved out, but many of them were in the city and chose not to come. Or the voter list is bad. They moved and we don't know. And about 13 or 14,000 people were young, first-time voters or moved into into Madurai Central Constituency. But 17,000 people who were eligible voters in 2019, who had not come to vote in 2019, came out to vote in 2021. So every time you think the analytics shows you something, you realize there's greater and greater depth to this. And, you have to be in this perpetual quest because it's never ending. In government also, we use data, though not as much as we do in politics, and even politics not as much as we do in business. But I will just give 2 or 3 examples. One, we have announced a data purity project that we've been undertaking in the government of Tamil Nadu since last May when we took office. We have found many remarkable things. We have found tens of thousands of people who were continuing to receive old age or widow pensions after they had passed. Means they're listed in the civil register that they have passed away, and still the system has been paying them for years and years. We find that when we gave the 4,000 rupees per card as the corona relief measure, which was brilliant, it helped our economy go through a much lower dip than others. But several lakh cardholders who had never bought a ration product from a ration store before that 4,000 rupees and had never bought a single product after that 4,000 rupees collected that 4,000 rupees. So hundreds of crores were spent to people who otherwise had never felt the necessity to buy subsidized food. Either they exist or they don't exist, we don't know, but we start somewhere. I'm a member of the GST Council. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But when I go to these meetings, I find that we have this wonderful source of data. There's no other system in the world that like the GST network. It captures every transaction everywhere in the country. And yet almost no analytics happen. We get into all these discussions about philosophy, about theory, about, policy, never ever backed by data. So I kept raising that. And what the Union Finance Minister did, because I kept saying it all the time, she made me a member of the Standing Committee on GST Reforms and said, you go and figure out how we can use the data. So hopefully one of these days we'll do that. But why I'm saying all these examples is that in every walk of life, the more informed we are, the better decisions we can make. Our philosophy is our philosophy. Sometimes even our philosophy should be subject to change if the outcomes don't match. I was just having a discussion with the principal and rector before I came here. And I said, I talk to people of all different political philosophies, even the other extreme part of the spectrum compared to me. And while we mutually respect each other and so forth, the point I make is that I am not just a diehard adherent of my philosophy because my father was so, because my grandfather was so, because my great-grandfather was so, but because of the results it has produced. We have superlative outcomes compared to the rest of the country in education, in health, in social development. So if my philosophy had not produced these results, I should have started questioning whether this is the right philosophy or not. That's the whole point. It's not just that you should be, that's what rationalism is. That's what Periyar said. Think for yourself. Even if I say so, doesn't matter. Does it make sense to you? So we follow this because we get outcomes. In that sense, such progress is a constant. Life always keeps moving forward. The world keeps progressing. Humanity keeps progressing. Sometimes we see bad consequences of data and analytics, but there are so many good ones to come. And on a day like today, I'm reminded why I see myself as a lifelong student, because just reading that, there's so many things that interest me that I wish I had the time to follow. Anyway, there's a time for everything. I have greater responsibilities now than attending conferences, but you have the great luxury of attending a conference like this, meeting new people, learning new things, discussing any idea that comes to your head. So I hope you'll all take big advantage of that opportunity, that you will greatly enjoy yourselves and expand your mind and your thinking. I congratulate the organizers for putting together such a good conference with so many great panels and speakers and papers. And I wish all of you a very pleasant and fruitful couple of days. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you, sir, for illuminating us with your words of knowledge and wisdom. Apart from politics, he is one of the most sought after authorities in the field of finance, and we are so privileged to listen from the horse's mouth. Once again, we express our sincere thanks to you, sir. Now, may I request Reverend Father Principal to honor our MLA in Erilan with a shawl. Now, I invite the key person of the conference, our beloved Professor, Dr. Jesu Kurandairaj, the convener, to enlighten us on the dynamics of the conference.
Honorable Minister for Finance, respected Dr. Lilith, the MLA, respected Reverend Fathers, officials, coordinators, faculty members, esteemed speakers, participants, and my dear students, a warm welcome to each and every one of you. As a consequence of LPG in the global economy since 20th century, the counter of business domain, emboldened by business analytics, is widening horizontally and sharpening vertically in the planet. Besides pouring into multidimensional, socio-economic and cultural-based livelihood activities, the business tentacles as capable of establishing connectivity even with other planets in space. Thanks to the digitalized business analytics for creating the inevitable technology-based linkages between the supply and demand sides of the business world, whereby facilitating the policymakers and business world towards fostering economic growth and human development in the world. Now, the result of this discourse on digitalization need to be merged with sustainable research to bring out digital transformation for delivering both instantaneous and long-term welfare benefits to humanity. The world of tomorrow will be driven by knowledge, machine intelligence, and digital pathways. To prepare ourselves for this transformation and to leverage its amazing opportunities, we are driven to recast the commerce curriculum with new courses and to provide deeper analytical orientation, ideation, and innovation. In the incubation of thoughts has become the order of the day and need to be given due thrust in our commerce curriculum. Much more progress is required on this account. To understand and critically assess the concepts, methods, or business analytical strategies formulated and implemented for sustainable digital transformation. The aim of this two-day international conference on business analytics for sustainable digital transformation, ECOBAS 2022, is to create a platform for knowledge sharing on business analytics and business intelligence for distinguished academicians, practitioners, and researchers from academia and industry. In addition, this conference aims to bring together leading academicians, researchers, and research scholars in order to exchange and to share scientific research achievements and cutting-edge technology. Just now, sir spoke on that very deeply. understand the economic development trends, broaden research ideas, strengthen academic research and discussions to promote academic achievements in all aspects of business analytics in business and management. The first in-person conference on business analytics since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic will feature cutting-edge sessions, face-to-face networking events, invited talks, panel discussions, paper presentations. The technical sessions are crafted with the emerging trends like big data analytics, recent digital transformation technologies, and financial wellness. The topics devised for panel discussions are included in futuristic models and constitutes a mere blend of technology, business analytics. I would like to list out few topics for your kind attention. CRM metrics, AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning in marketing, innovation and thought leadership, artificial intelligence in HR and virtual employee experience, etc. The mammoth success of this conference is perceptible with overwhelming responses from more than 200 registered participants across the country. We have received nearly 120 research articles, out of which we have approved 110 quality manuscripts for publications in the CARE-listed journals, Scopus indexed journals too. Nearly 80 participants have come forward to present their papers and share their knowledge, views in this international conference, thereby providing a premier interdisciplinary platform for researchers, practitioners, educators to have cognitive discussion on this most recent innovation trends in the field of business analytics. As a convener of this prestigious conference, I'm elated and delighted for two main reasons. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable Minister for Finance and Human Resources Management, Dr. Palanivel Thiagarajan. There can be no better expert in economics and a source of inspiration than you to inspire, motivate, educate the large audience from industry, academia, students at Loyola. Hence, we thought it would be a very apt to invite to the amongst us enlightenedness with your ocean of knowledge, and your speech has manifested the same today. Thank you, sir. The second reason for hosting the first in-person conference on business analytics since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, the pandemic has transitioned knowledge sharing to the virtual mode, but has failed to prove its efficacy and has enhanced and trumped of the organizing the in-person conferences. With immense pleasure, I extend a warm welcome to all the renowned speakers and delegates who took out their valuable time and joined us today to be part of this two-day international conference on business analytics for sustainable digital transformation. We are delighted with your presence today. I would like to conclude my words with a small quote. Gaining knowledge is the first step to wisdom. Sharing it is the first step to humanity. I firmly assure that this conference will be a productive and worth your precious time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words. Gratitude is an attitude of a noble soul. It is the spark that lights a fire of joy in our soul. Now I request our eminent professor, Dr. Salatin, the organizing secretary of the conference, to propose the vote of thanks.
A very good morning to everyone present here. James Allen once said, "No duty is more urgent than giving thanks." It's my profound joy to stand here and say the little words of thanks at the end of this inaugural section. Thank you is not merely just two words that express our gratitude. It's something that reflects from the bottom of our heart. First, I thank the Almighty God for showering His blessings and abundance throughout this conference. I am honored to thank all the delegates for their valuable presence and blessings, particularly our beloved fathers, Rector Reverend Dr. Francis Xavier, Reverend Father Secretary Dr. D. Salvanayagam, and Reverend Father Principal Dr. A. Thomas in a special way, and other fathers. On behalf of the organizing team, I take this opportunity to sincerely thank our chief guest, Dr. Palanivel Tyagarajan. I inspired many things from the latest budget, reducing the deficit and increasing the state-owned revenue rather than begging from others, to increase the state-owned revenue and reduce the deficit in spite of the pandemic situation. Honorable Minister for Finance and Human Resource Management, Government of Tamil Nadu for its valuable presence and thought-provoking keynote address. And along with our MLA, Ellen sir, thank you for your presence. And sir, your presence has witnessed this conference as a memorable one. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. A. Marcus, head of our department, Dr. T. Joseph, the former head of the department, and Faculty of Commerce and our other HODs from the other departments, officials, for their contribution towards the success of this event. It's duty to thank the members of the organizing team for their meticulous preparation, particularly by the student volunteers for their untiring work. I take this opportunity to thank the delegates, media person, participants, and the paper presentees from the various institutions across the country to partake in this spectacular academic event. A special word of thanks to the eminent Annadurai sitting here in front of us, as your eminent alumni who has helped us to bring our Honorable Minister, Finance and Human Resource Management, to participate in this inaugural section. Last but not the least, our student community to actively participate in this inaugural function. Once again, on behalf of the organizing team, I render my gratitude one and all present here and make this function in a special way. Thank you.
I request you all to kindly raise for the national anthem.
Check.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उत्कल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जाहे शुभ आशीष माहे चाहे तव जय गादा जनगण मंगल नायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय जय जय